I never imagined I'd wake up in a billionaire's room to a heart-melting breakfast. The soft, golden rays of morning light pierced through enormous floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the opulence that surrounded me. The walls were adorned with shimmering artwork, pieces that seemed to whisper secrets only the elite could hear. My heart raced as I stared at the lavish spread laid out on a polished, marble table. Fluffy pancakes drizzled with maple syrup glistened like jewels, and fresh berries seemed to sparkle, their colors popping against the silk tablecloth. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee danced in the air, filling me with an unexpected warmth. I sat up slowly, my mind still foggy from the events of last night. How did I end up here? Confusion knotted in my stomach as I tried to piece together fragmented memories. I had gone to that charity gala, the one hosted by the elusive billionaire Jasper Blackwood. A chance encounter, a magnetic connection, but it felt like a dream, surreal and almost too good to be true. Was it real? As I swung my legs over the edge of the bed, the cool floor met my bare feet, sending shivers up my spine. I glanced around, my heart thumping louder. Everything in this room was extraordinary. The sheets were soft as clouds, the furniture sleek and modern, yet so inviting. But there was something unsettling, to a mysterious edge that clung to the air like smoke. Why was I here? What did Jasper want from me? I could hear distant laughter, echoes of voices from somewhere outside the grand doors. My pulse quickened. I was a stranger in a palace of secrets. Perhaps it was just breakfast. Perhaps that was all. But somewhere deep inside, a nagging voice told me this was only the beginning of something much bigger. With every step I took, uncertainty gnawed at me. Jasper was captivating, but his eyes held stories I couldn't grasp. What lay behind that charming smile? As I approached the door, my hands trembled, heartbeats loud in my ears. I needed answers. Then, just as I reached for the handle, I caught sight of a small note resting on the table. My name scrawled in his handwriting. Meet me in the garden. My heart lurched. The garden? What could he possibly want? Questions swirled as I pressed the note to my chest. Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The garden was a kaleidoscope of color's lush expanse of vibrant flowers, intricately trimmed hedges, and stone pathways that twisted like a whisper of a secret. As I stepped outside, the soft breeze kissed my skin, but it did nothing to cool the tension thrumming through my veins. My heart stumbled when I spotted Jasper standing beneath an ancient oak, his back to me. He seemed at peace, silhouetted against the sun-drenched sky, but I could not shake the unease rippling through me. What was I doing here, standing in a place that felt plucked from a fairy tale, yet cloaked in apprehension? I took a step forward, hesitant, torn between excitement and fear. "Good morning," Jasper said, turning slowly, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of his lips. It was mesmerizing, but there was an intensity in his gaze that mirrored my internal chaos. "I hope you enjoyed breakfast. I wanted to give you more than just a meal to wake up to." I felt myself blush, both at his compliment and the insinuation behind it. "Thank you," I managed, my voice shaky. "But I still don't understand, why am I here, Jasper?" His expression darkened for a moment as if the weight of unspoken words sat heavily between us. Then he stepped closer, a fragile hope blooming in my chest. "Last night was unexpected for both of us," he replied, his tone sincere. "But I sense there's something more going on, something that draws us together. I couldn't let you leave without getting to know you." His honesty caught me off guard. Yet, the shadows I sensed beneath his words clung to the edges of my enthusiasm. What did he mean by something more? Did he truly see me as more than a fleeting attraction? Or was I simply another piece in his enigmatic puzzle? Jasper reached out, his fingertips brushing mine like a spark, igniting the unresolved tension. "Can I show you something?" he asked, a glimmer of nervousness creeping into his confident demeanor. Before I could respond, he led me deeper into the garden. We wove through the swirling colors until we reached a secluded alcove. A wooden bench stood underneath an arch draped in climbing vines, flowers spilling over like laughter. It felt magical, yet I couldn't escape the feeling that it was also a trap. "What do you want to show me?" I blinked, trying to push aside the rising anxiety. He paused, his brow creasing with thought. Then he pulled out a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. The air grew thick with anticipation. "This is something that's been in my family for generations." He flicked it open, revealing a stunning diamond pendant that sparkled as if it held captured sunlight. "It's meant to bring hope, especially in times of uncertainty." My breath hitched, captivated by the beauty of the necklace. "But why give it to me?" "I believe you might need it," he said softly, his voice crackling with raw emotion. "You're caught in a whirlwind, and maybe this will remind you that moments of light exist, even in dark places." As I reached out to touch the pendant, the sound of footsteps approached, interrupting our intimate moment. A woman appeared from behind the hedges, her expression a mix of surprise and something I couldn't quite place. "Was it jealousy?" "Jasper, I didn't expect you here," she said, a hint of a challenge in her tone. "I hope you're not interrupting important business." The sudden shift in the atmosphere clutched at my throat. Who was she? The piercing gaze she directed at me seemed to see right through the fragile facade of newfound hope Jasper had just created. "I was just showing her," Jasper began. But the woman cut him off. "Showing her what? Your family heirlooms?" Her voice dripped with condescension as she stepped closer to me, her smile brittle. "I hope you two are aware this isn't a fairy tale. There are boundaries in this world." That a chill raced down my spine, slicing through whatever fragile hope had begun to blossom. My heart raced as I flicked my gaze between Jasper and this unexpected intruder. What unseen dynamics swirled around us, knotting my already tangled emotions? And why did I still feel like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, teetering dangerously close to the unknown? Jasper opened his mouth to speak, but I took a step back, the pendant feeling heavy in my palm. "I think I need some air," I mumbled, turning away, feeling the distant uncertainty beckoning me like a siren's call. As I walked away from them into the depths of the garden's chaos, a gnawing question anchored deep within me: was Jasper truly different? Or was I merely a fleeting illusion in a world filled with layers upon layers of deceit? The garden landscape blurred as I instinctively quickened my pace, my feet pounding against the stones like a pulse racing with trepidation. The vibrant petals around me seemed to mock my spiraling thoughts, a wild dance of colors juxtaposed against the dull ache of uncertainty blooming in my chest. The pendant nestled in my palm, heavy with mystery, served as a reminder of not just Jasper's intentions, but of everything I had yet to understand about Heimer, about myself. I stopped at the edge of a small pond, the surface rippling like the disturbing thoughts in my mind. My reflection stared back at me, a fragile version of myself clad in the remnants of hope, now threatened with doubt. Was I standing on the precipice of something beautiful or merely courting danger? The woman's eyes, sharp as glass, haunted me. "Maybe she's right," I whispered, the words startling even me. "This isn't a fairy tale. I can't just wish for it to be." The pendant felt like a weight now, not a symbol of hope, but an anchor pulling me deeper into the mire of uncertainty. "Is everything okay?" A soft voice broke through the turbulent waves of my thoughts. I turned to see a garden attendant, an older woman with gentle eyes and an understanding smile. Her hands were calloused, but they bore a warmth that felt safe. "Just thinking," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. She stepped closer, her gaze lingering on the pendant. "That's a beautiful piece," she said, her voice rich with a knowing that paused the world around us. "Sometimes, those who have the most tend to forget what it's like to truly feel. It's easy to confuse wealth with worth." Her words lingered between us like a fragile thread, pulling me back to the realization that my struggles were shared by so many. I could sense the kindness in her heart, the understanding grandmotherly nature that reminded me that I was not alone in my chaos. "I don't understand," I confessed, rubbing the pendant's edge nervously. "It's all so sudden and intense. It often is," she replied sagely. "But remember, child, even the most complicated paths can lead to beauty. Don't shy away from what you feel, even if it scares you. It's part of being alive." A flicker of warmth ignited inside me, a burst of hope that came from the stranger's wisdom. I held her gaze, finding comfort in the soft strength she exuded. "What if I'm just a stumbling fool in a world of peach blossoms? What if I ruin everything? I once knew a girl who thought the same," she said, nodding. "She stumbled too, fell several times, in fact, but those stumbles taught her how to bloom in her own way. As for ruining things, sometimes the best things emerge from the ruins of our past." Her words wrapped around my heart like a blanket, offering solace that felt both calming and invigorating. I didn't need to be perfect, I needed to be true to myself. Just then, laughter rang out from deeper in the garden. The sound cut through my reverie, and when I turned my head, I found Jasper and the woman from earlier, now engaged in a heated discussion. Jasper's brow was furrowed, his hands animated as he spoke, while the woman's expression twisted between anger and frustration. The bubbling laughter contrasted sharply with the tension pulsating between them, a bittersweet melody floating through the air. I felt a knot tightening in my chest, realizing that whatever silence I thought had settled around us was only a veil covering a storm I was yet to fully understand. Should I approach, or was it wiser to retreat? My heart wavered between curiosity and anxiety. The kindness of the older woman pulsed through me, urging me to stay close, to not turn away from what could inevitably become a significant part of my life. Gathering courage, I took a step closer, hoping the warmth of the previous conversation would guide me through this new storm. "Jasper?" I called, my voice wavering but steady. He turned, catching my eyes and momentarily grounding me. The playful spark I had once seen in him was now replaced with an intensity that scared me. He began, but the woman cut him off again, her tone sharp. "Stop it, Jasper. No one needs to hear about your fantasies right now," she interrupted, her voice slicing through the air. "Stay focused on what matters." "What matters?" I murmured under my breath, the question lingering. Did I dare dig deeper into this world filled with hidden motives? There was no resolve in Jasper's expression, just a whirlpool of conflicting emotions, and I felt myself drift further away from him with each moment. Then, as if striking a match in a dark room, that woman smiled wickedly at me, the corners of her mouth curling up in a way that sent a shiver down my spine. "Let me give you some advice. Stay strong," she said darkly, her eyes not leaving mine, "because this garden has thorns too, and they have a knack for catching those who are unprepared." My heart raced, the innocent joy of discovery intertwining with an unsettling sensation. What did she mean? There was a flicker in her gaze that seemed to reveal more than she let own, a truth buried beneath layers of disdain and competition. As I turned to face Jasper again, our eyes locked, and I saw a mixture of desperation and fear reflecting back at me. Yet, before I could voice my concern, before we could unravel the truth behind this woman's cryptic words, the garden's soft serenity was shattered by a distant cry, an echo that could have easily belonged to my inner turmoil, or perhaps an impending storm approaching from within the depths of this beautiful, treacherous sanctuary. And there, at that moment, everything shifted again as I realized. I was no longer merely a guest in the garden, I was a player caught in a game far larger than I understood, and the stakes were rising with each passing breath. The atmosphere in the garden grew heavier, a tangible weight pressing down on my chest as I tried to decipher the voices around me. Jasper stood rigid, his mouth set in a grim line, while the woman's malevolence enriched the air with tension that seemed to coil like the vines wrapping resolutely around the trellis. I felt the warmth of her earlier kindness dissipating, replaced by a chill that stirred unease deep within me. "What was that?" I whispered, my voice faltering as I scanned the neighboring paths for any sign of the disturbance. The garden, which had moments ago felt like a sanctuary of vibrancy, now appeared wrought with shadows, the floral scents darkening beneath a veil of confusion. Without waiting for an answer, Jasper stepped closer, his demeanor changing from animated to serious. "It's nothing you need to concern yourself with," he insisted, but the way his hands clenched at his sides betrayed him. "Just, do you remember what I said about trust? Trust? I echoed, unable to divert the worry pooling in my stomach. You mean the trust that seems so fragile, teetering on the edge, like everything else? How can I trust when this woman? I gestured toward Harris, wielding her words like weapons. Her laughter danced eerily against the backdrop of nature, and I felt my pulse race. Wise girl, she said with an unsettling smile. Understanding the game is half the battle. I narrowed my eyes at her, feeling cornered. It was the hungry look she wore that brought an icy tendril of dread creeping up my spine. What game? But before anyone could reply, another shrill cry echoed through the garden, this one unmistakably filled with terror. I turned instinctively, following the sound as it wound itself around every flower and tree, drawing me deeper into the labyrinth of blooms. My heart hammered against my ribs, demanding action, but as I hesitated, I felt the grip of fear hold me tightly. Jasper reached for my hand, his touch igniting a charge that pulsed through my veins. Stay with me, he breathed, urgency threading through his words. We pressed forward into the heart of the garden, where the vibrant colors bled into murky shadows, and there lay a scene that stole the breath from my lungs. A young woman, perhaps in her late 20s, lay crumpled on the ground, her face pale and eyes wide with fright. The grass around her was trampled as if a frantic struggle had unfolded moments prior, the remnants of it vibrating in the silence of shocked onlookers. Call for help, Jasper shouted, pushing through the gathering crowd, his voice slicing through the air like a siren. The woman struggled to rise, gasping, and I felt a pull to kneel beside her. Hey, can you tell me what happened? I whispered urgently, grasping her hand, hoping to anchor her in this storm of chaos. Her gaze flickered to mine, haunted. She was here, she rasped, her breath uneven. The woman. She pushed me when I got too close. My skin prickled as I recalled the older woman's words, her warning still circulating through my thoughts like an ominous cloud. Why would she do that? I whispered, half to myself before the woman could respond. The sound of hurried footsteps grew louder, and the garden guard burst into the clearing, accompanied by a few guests who had noticed the commotion. As they rushed past, I caught sight of Jasper's face, etched in worry and confusion, but something darker lingered behind his eyes. The atmosphere was suffocating, yet my grip on the young woman's hand tightened. Stay with me, I said, time stretching out like an unbroken thread. The garden attendant's words rang through my mind about stumbling and learning to bloom from past ruins. Yet, in the depths of this chaos, I couldn't discard the sense that the garden was no longer a haven but a battleground. The young woman's fingers twitched slightly, and she met my gaze with a desperate plea for understanding. You have to be careful, she gasped. Things aren't what they seem here. As the guards attended to her, I glanced back to look for Jasper, but he was already gone, swallowed by the shadows of towering hedges that stood like silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. My heart dropped, realization dawning on me with icy clarity. He had left to confront the woman. Alone that I stood frozen, rooted to the spot as dread clawed at my insides, the garden around me pulsating with uncertainty. The laughter that once echoed was replaced by an unsettling stillness, and the veil of enchantment I had felt swiftly vaporized into fear. Could this truly be the fairy tale I had hoped for? Or was I destined to follow a dark path that only led to further heartache? How many more would be entangled in this game, suffering the consequences of unseen thorns? I turned sharply, resolved to find him before he faced whatever darkness awaited him, before the garden turned from beautiful to deadly. Instinctively, I knew deep down that this game was not yet finished, and the struggle for truth had only just begun. The maze of hedges flickered through my mind like a taunting thought as I navigated the garden, urgency propelling me forward. Every corner I turned led to a tapestry of despair where light once danced through the petals. An oppressive fog seemed to gather, suffocating hope. The terracotta paths crumbled beneath my hurried feet, and I was swallowed whole by paranoia. Jasper. The name erupted from my lips, a desperate prayer carried through the air. But the only answer was the rustle of leaves, whispering secrets that were obscured from me. I pushed through the labyrinth, my heart racing as panic coiled tight around it. What if he was in danger? What if he had confronted the woman only to be ensnared in her web of lies? As I rounded yet another corner, I caught sight of a group gathered near the dense brush, voices entwined in anxious whispers. My stomach twisted at the sight. It felt like I was a reporter standing outside a crime scene, frozen in fear of the unknown. I approached cautiously, straining to hear bits and pieces of their conversation. She's dangerous, that one. I saw her eyes. There was something unnatural about them. The voice belonged to a tall man, his face shadowed by the overhanging boughs. We have to be careful. Another chimed in, panic lacing his tone. No one should confront her without knowing what she's capable of. Their words sliced through the air, sharp and chilling. My mind twisted, conjuring images of dark power, the kind that twisted intentions and left devastation in its wake. An urgent thought surged through me. What if she had already marked Jasper, her twisted game extending a hand of malice toward him? "Excuse me," I interrupted, barely able to contain the tremor in my voice. They turned to me, surprise mingling with concern in their eyes. Did anyone see where he went? A heaviness settled upon the group, their eyes darting toward the shadows cloaking the garden. "He followed her into the thicket," the man from earlier murmured, an edge of remorse in his voice. "But no one should go after them. Is perilous. P perilous?" I stammered, my heart thundering. "I can't just wait here." "Listen to me." He stepped closer, his forehead glistening with sweat. "One slip into her world, and there's no telling what might happen. You know nothing of her." What did I know? My intuition shouted at me to press on, but a small voice echoed inside, a reminder that perhaps there was truth in the caution wounding the garden's atmosphere. Why had I felt so drawn to Jasper? Why did the thought of losing him ignite a firestorm of desperation within me? But before I could grapple with my thoughts, I turned on my heels and followed the path they had indicated, noting how the palpable tension wrapped itself around me, thick like fog. The air grew colder, a frigid whisper teasing my senses as I reached a clearing. There, standing in a faintly illuminated circle of moonlit blossoms, was the woman, the one who had cast a spell of terror upon the garden. Her features illuminated in a way that made her look almost ethereal, yet tinged with something dangerously alluring. And there was Jasper, his back turned to me, poised as if on a precipice between light and dark. "Leave him alone," I shouted before I could stop myself, the words spilling forth in a flood. I charged forward, propelled by a mixture of fear and fury. "The brave little soldier," she mused, her voice dripping with mockery. "You think you can protect him from what he desires most?" With each syllable, her words felt like poison, laced with a potential destructive power. I faltered, uncertainty nudging at my resolve. "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, she tilted her head, and her eyes, now gleaming with an unsettling light, held Jasper's. "You have a choice, you know," she cooed, stroking an invisible thread in the air that seemed to pulse between them. "To join us, discover secrets that might shatter everything you thought you knew, or to remain in your blissful ignorance. But make your choice quickly. Time moves differently here." A cold sweat gripped me. I wanted to scream, to wrench Jasper away from her clawing grasp, but his gaze remained fixed, entranced. "Jasper," I cried again, my voice raw and desperate. His head slowly turned, and for a moment, the world around us quieted. "I have to know," he replied, his words fragile and heavy with uncertain resolve. That it felt like a chasm had opened between us. "Know what? That she's dangerous? That her kindness is a facade?" My heart sank, the depth of my fear crashing against reality. "I can't lose myself," he said, and in his eyes, I saw something that frightened me more than the shadowed woman before us. A flicker of darkness, of doubt, wrestled beneath his surface. Before I could reach out, before I could pull him away from that brink, the woman stepped closer, the shadows seeming to deepen around her. "There's so much to gain, dear boy, so much to lose, but it's all in your hands now." And just like that, the chance of hope slipped away, and I was left grappling with the reality of an unbearable choice, fate drawing lines that threatened to sever us apart. I couldn't remain powerless. I had to fight for him, for us. But did I hold the strength to shatter the illusion she crafted, to break the spell that ensnared him? As I took a step closer, my heart racing with determination, the ground beneath me trembled. And in the midst of the chaos, a blaring alarm reverberated through the garden. A striking sound that roared to life without warning. Panic ignited anew, and as Jasper's eyes widened in uncertainty, I realized the stakes had escalated beyond comprehension. The true game was far more sinister than I could fathom, and I stood on the precipice of a revelation that could either bring us together or tear us apart forever. Time raced forward with unfathomable speed, and just before everything erupted into chaos, the woman turned toward me, lips curling into a smile. "Let's see what you're made of," she whispered, just before the universe seemed to tilt on its axis. The air shimmered with tension, sharp enough to cut, as chaos unfolded around us. The alarm blared, its sound clawing at the edges of reality, amplifying the fear rippling through the garden. Shadows danced in wild patterns, twisting against the burgeoning light of the moon, as if in reaction to the call of danger. "Jasper, we have to go," I pleaded, desperation tightening its grip around my throat. He didn't move. He was still caught in her gaze, tethered to that invisible thread she spun, a web glistening with promises I feared he might choose to believe. Her smile expanded, revealing a glinting predatory delight at our distress. "Do you really think you can whisk him away, little girl?" she taunted, her voice swirling like smoke, intoxicating and threatening. "You're not even aware of what lies behind the veil of this garden. But sweet Jasper, he does. He's one step closer to understanding the truth that has eluded you both." "No, don't listen to her," I cried, tears welling in my eyes, a raw vulnerability threatening to spill over. How could he be swayed by her words, by the very essence of darkness that surrounded her? "Please, we have to leave. This isn't what you want." Finally, he broke free from her grip, momentarily shaken, his face pale. I have to know what she means. Why does it always feel like there's something hidden?" The weight of his anguish made my heart fracture as he fought against the allure of the unknown. "Jasper, the thrill is a fool's embrace. The secrets she offers come at a price one you're not ready to pay." Each word escaped my lips like a prayer, hoping he'd see through her artifice, wishing for him to grasp the danger wrapping tighter around him. But the urgency that hung in the air twisted like a fickle friend. The ground beneath him trembled, a low rumble that reverberated through every vein, as if the very essence of the garden was in turmoil. My mind raced, plotting our escape while balancing on the ever-thin line between hope and despair. "Do you really believe the whispered words from someone so weak?" The woman scoffed. "She can offer you nothing compared to what I can reveal, dear boy." Her serenade of dark promises curled around him, seeping into the crevices of my resolve. I stepped closer, feeling the thrum of danger in every step. Jasper's voice trembled, vibrating with raw need. "You have a choice. We can find the truth together, outside of this garden. Without her." Suddenly, the alarm shifted into a different tone, a piercing shrill, and the shadows around us began to ripple and tremble as if the very fabric of reality was fraying. In that moment, the woman's composure faltered ever so slightly, and I seized the opportunity to reach out for Jasper's hand, wanting nothing more than to anchor him back to me. But the ground tremored violently beneath us, enough to send ripples across the clearing. In an instant, her smirk twisted into a snarl, and she raised her hands. "Foolish child, you cannot take him from me. Watch as the garden unveils its true nature." Petals flew into the air like shrapnel, swirling in a tempest of color and energy. Light fractured in unexpected patterns, illuminating the garden with blinding brightness. I shielded my eyes, heart racing. I needed to pull him from the brink, needed to awaken his senses before the chaos engulfed us. "Jasper," I yelled, but the words felt hollow against the roaring crescendo as the garden released a torrent of emotion that echoed the feelings trapped within it. A vengeful scream burst forth, filled with the agony of all those who had been ensnared by the woman's allure. The shadows flickered, broken voices rising like a haunting melody, merging and colliding. "Save him! Don't let him fade away!" They all cried in a storm of helplessness. For the first time, I felt the weight of those who had come before us, trapped in their own uncertainties, tasting the bitter fruit of their unchosen desires. "Please, Jasper, fight. You have to fight," I screamed, weaving through the storm of petals, intent on reaching him, heart racing with each call of his name. And then, in a flash, a revelation struck, cutting through the chaos, a glimmer of hope igniting like a candle piercing the darkness. I glimpsed something behind the exterior, behind the layers of shadows, the flicker of our shared memories, incandescent and warm. I focused on the laughter we shared, the quiet moments of understanding and joy that transcended whatever twisted game this garden was playing. With every ounce of will, I summoned those moments and wrapped them around us like armor. Remember how but suddenly, the ground gave way beneath me, a massive fissure opening to swallow the surrounding chaos. Jasper's eyes widened as I stumbled, barely grasping the edge, his hand finding mine, but we were losing it all. "All we have is each other," I cried out, panic surging through me. The darkness coiled tighter, and I felt the gravitational pull of fate shifting toward chaos, expanding like a black hole determined to consume everything. "Fight for us," Jasper shouted, a mix of fear and clarity breaking through as he clutched my hand with increasing strength. We teetered on the precipice, but her malevolent laughter echoed around us, growing louder, embracing the despair swirling through the air. A sudden surge of energy crackled between us, igniting an unexpected force as the alarm blared anew, echoing the urgency spiraling toward oblivion. Just as the chasm beneath threatened to pull us apart, I glimpsed a glimmer in Jasper's eyes, standing resolute against the tide of darkness. And in that instant of clarity, something profound surged between us, a realization that recovery doesn't arrive only in moments of light but often in the deepest throes of despair. But before I could decipher the truth of it, the ground trembled violently, and with a deafening roar, the darkness surged forth, pulling us down the abyss, into an unknown that would either unravel us or awaken the dormant strength we yet had to discover. As our hands slipped apart and the last echo of his voice faded, the only certainty that remained was my promise to fight for him even from the depths of despair. The woman's voice hummed with satisfaction, whispering sweetly of power and secrets, shrouded in shadows that could either bind or liberate. And then the darkness swallowed us whole, leaving only uncertainty in its wake. I awoke to darkness pressing down on me, a heavy blanket woven not from fabric but from fragmented memories and haunting whispers. My heart raced as I tried to sit up, disoriented. The faint scent of something familiar tugged at me, a floral aroma intermingled with something smoky, yet it felt distant, like a half-remembered dream lingering on the edges of consciousness. Panic surged through me. "Jasper!" I shouted, voice cracking against the void. His name echoed, swallowed by silence, and an icy dread clenched my chest. I scrambled to my feet, staggering backward until I hit a wall solid and unforgiving. The absence of light left me vulnerable, my mind darting between the open chasm we had narrowly escaped and the chilling possibility that I was now alone. "Where are you?" My voice was a desperate whisper, trembling as I slowly turned in circles, straining to listen for any sound that would connect me to him. I heard nothing, only the faint pulse of my own heartbeat, each beat a reminder of how flimsy my hope was. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I spotted the silhouette of a door, slight and inviting in the otherwise oppressive room. I felt drawn to it, but hesitation seeped into my bones. What if on the other side was the woman, waiting to ensnare me with more of her twisted magic? But what else could I do? I reached for the doorknob, my fingers trembling as they made contact with the cold metal, an anchor against the currents of uncertainty. With a deep breath, I twisted the knob. It creaked open, revealing a long hallway illuminated with muted light, as if the sun had decided to retreat, but allowed a few shards to linger, sparking faint hope within me. The walls echoed soft whispers, unintelligible yet strikingly familiar, pulling me deeper into their embrace. "Jasper," I called again, hope threadbare. Yet, within the timbre of that name, a faint light flickered in the darkness of my heart. I stepped cautiously forward, reflecting on the moments we had shared, the laughter, the vulnerability, and the unspoken bond that flickered like a star against the backdrop of chaos as I moved down the corridor. Lights blinked to life, illuminating framed photographs that lined the walls. My breath caught as I recognized them, images of us together, captured reflections of joy intertwined with uncertainty. Each frame felt like a life raft in the vast ocean of despair, anchoring me to moments that hummed with possibility. Suddenly, I froze. The last image stopped my heart. It was a photo of Jasper and the woman, their bodies close in a way that felt more intimate than a mere photograph suggested. She smiled at him, a smirk that wrapped itself around my throat and squeezed. Jealousy coiled inside me like a serpent, mingling with anger and regret. Had he sought her out, intrigued by the allure of her darkness? The question shattered my earlier resolve. What is this place? I whispered to the shadows gathering around me. What have you done to us? At that moment, an unexpected noise broke through the cacophony of my thoughts, a soft knock, followed by the creaking of another door further down the hall. My heart leaped as I turned toward the sound, every instinct urging me to run towards it, to discover its source. With hesitant steps, I approached, drawn not only by curiosity but by an overwhelming sense of purpose. I knocked lightly. Is anyone there? A fleeting silence settled before the door swung open slowly, revealing a man cloaked in shadows, his face partially concealed. The night's oppressive shroud lightened just enough for me to see the glimmer of hope in his eyes, a flicker that mirrored my unrelenting search for Jasper. You shouldn't be here, he murmured, voice low and urgent as his gaze darted toward the hallway behind me. Where's Jasper? My voice was urgent, the anxiety bleeding through my words. I need to find him. The man stepped closer, shadows retreating as if recognizing his presence. You don't understand. This garden feeds on fear and uncertainty. Jasper is trapped in a web woven from his own desires. If you wish to save him, you must confront your own shadows first. My heart plummeted at his words. What do you mean? How can I save him when I can barely save myself? The man offered a slight smile, but it barely grazed his lips. Sometimes we cling too tightly to what we think we know. In order to retrieve what's lost, often we must first learn to let go. Darkness can deceive, but there's always a path illuminated by a flicker of hope, even if we can't see it yet. His words struck me, an echo of wisdom wrapped in an enigmatic riddle that further deepened the emotional turmoil twisting within me. But I don't know how. I'm scared that I will help you, he promised, reaching out, a gloved hand extending through the gloom. But we must hurry. Every moment you hesitate, the garden feeds off your fears. Trust yourself, trust the bond you share with him. You are stronger than you realize. Conflicted emotions churned within, but I took a breath, grasping onto the surprising thread of hope he had offered. Okay. But as I stepped forward, intent on closing the distance, the dim hallway erupted in chaos. Shadows flickered violently, undulating as a cacophony of voices rose up, each calling out, threatening to drown out the voice of reason. The walls started to pulse, seemingly alive, eager to consume my determination. Jasper, I shouted, eyes wild with terror, reaching for the man, who seemed now just a roadmap through the labyrinth of uncertainty. We have to go now. But just as the man opened his mouth to respond, the world around us trembled, a harbinger of something darker looming on the horizon. The door behind him burst open, revealing the woman, furious and radiant, shadows coiling in her wake. Did you think you could escape me? She snarled, her eyes blazing with malevolent glee. Your dear Jasper is nothing but the first prize in a game with rules you can't possibly fathom. And in that electrifying moment, dread turned to stone within my heart. The barrier I had built against despair trembled, teetering on the edge of collapse. Run! The man shouted, his voice cutting through the tempest of fear. But as I turned, both the path forward and the darkness behind collided in a horrific embrace. I stumbled, gasping as the woman stepped closer. Catching her gaze, the last flicker of hope in that moment shifted into something blinding. As if our destinies were poised at the razor's edge, a choice weighed heavily against the tide of inevitability. It was clear that the true battle lay ahead, a fight not just for Jasper, but to unmask the specters of our mutual pasts that had led us here. And as I faced the darkness, I realized with bone-deep certainty that this journey had only just begun. The air crackled with tension as I stood there, my thoughts racing, trying to make sense of this reality that had spiraled into chaos. The woman's presence was overwhelming, and every instinct within me screamed to flee. Yet, through the fear, there remained a strange tether anchoring me to this placid recognition that I needed to confront the very darkness that threatened to engulf us. "Who are you?" I barely managed to articulate, voice trembling as I faced the woman who had begun to feel like an extension of the shadows themselves. Her eyes glinted, sharp like shards of glass reflecting the flickering light struggling to survive around us. "I am the embodiment of the darkness you both sought to escape," she replied, her voice a silken whisper that draped over me like a shroud. "But you, my dear, have much to learn before you can extricate him from my grasp. Jasper is not yours to keep," I shot back, the defiance bubbling forth despite the trembling in my resolve. "Are you so certain?" She laughed softly, each note accentuated with the weight of 1,000 buried fears. "How well do you truly know him? His past, his secrets? The thread that binds you might be far weaker than you wish to believe." Her words struck deep. My mind raced back to moments I thought had defined our connection, intimacies shared under a sky full of dreams and whispered promises. But beneath those treasured memories lay a chasm filled with unspoken truths. Was it possible that Jasper hid a part of himself from me? Fear gnawed at my insides as I recalled the way he sometimes seemed distant, as if portions of his life were eternally locked away that I might not know everything. I admitted, my voice steadier, "But I know he is worth fighting for." The woman stepped closer, her presence solidifying into something terrifyingly tangible. "Your conviction is admirable, but it's merely a mask. To save him, you must peel back the layers of both your hearts, exposing the raw wounds you've left unaddressed." "What do you know about us?" I challenged, feeling the veins of fear steady into something fierce. Behind her facade of power, there had to be vulnerabilities. "I know that you fear the truth as much as he does." Her smile was chilly, like the spread of frost across winter's breath. "I know that it's easier to cling to illusions than confront the reality that your love is riddled with shadows." That I was about to respond when the man beside me, a flicker of light in this darkness, spoke again, his calm presence contrasting with our growing tempest. "Enough games," he said, stepping forward with a confidence that pushed against the oppressive energy swirling around us. "Let her speak, for the truth may fracture you. But it's the only way to break the chains binding Jasper. See? Even your savior knows the stakes," the woman taunted. "Your moment of reckoning is rapidly approaching. If you wish to save him, you must bring forth the darkness that dwells within yourself." Shadows thickened around me, pulsating, prompting memories that were buried deep. I felt myself pulled inward, the weight of regret and insecurity settling upon my shoulders like a second skin. Visions of miscommunication and unacknowledged fears sprang for the cacophony of doubt that I had harbored, insecurities about Jasper's past and my place in his world. "Am not enough," I realized I had thought before. "What if he leaves me for someone more exciting, more whole?" My stomach turned at the thought, each intrusion a dagger through the fabric of my heart. And yet, the man's promise flickered a tender glimmer of hope amidst the turmoil. "The darkness grows stronger only where fear resides unchallenged," he said gently, his eyes imploring me to engage with the truth rather than succumb to despair. "Stop," I roared, wanting to shatter the tension that began to suffocate me. "I won't be afraid anymore." As my declaration laced the air, the shadows shifted, swirling violently in response to the tremor of my awakening. "Very well," the woman said, her tone both whimsical and sinister. "Let's dance with your fears, shall we? But beware every step you take in this labyrinth reflects the insecurities you've tried to bury." Suddenly, the hallway morphed, contorting around me like a living entity. Each frame lining the walls began to ripple, displaying not only the moments of joy but also the cracks within our relationship, raw and exposed for me to see. I was forced to confront moments of hesitation, jealousy, and the hollow belief that I could lose him at any moment. Tears streamed down my face, a torrent of emotion unleashed as memories surged, crashing over me with relentless ferocity. I felt utterly powerless. Yet in that vulnerability, I began to understand the truth. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It is strength. No more. I shouted, drawing strength from my newfound realization. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if my words wielded power over them. I will not let these fears define me or our love. At that moment, something stirred. An ethereal light bloomed within me, illuminating the darkness with a fierce, undeniable warmth. This was my truth, my strength. There existed a tether between Jasper and me that neither of our past fears could sever. Just then, the woman's face contorted in outrage, her shadowy form quaking. You think you can simply embrace your fears and it will set you free? She hissed. No, I countered, but I can acknowledge them. Your darkness cannot hold me captive if I refuse to be afraid. And as those words ignited a renewed spark in my chest, the shadows quivered as though reluctant to bend to my will. Foolish girl, the woman spat, but there was something in her voice now, a hint of uncertainty. Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed through the hallway, causing the walls to tremble. The corridor warped further, a surge of chaos spinning around us until I could feel it physically pulling us apart. If I was going to save Jasper, I would have to navigate through the tempest that swelled within me. But just as those thoughts coalesced, the very ground beneath me began to shatter, and with a deafening crack, the light I had summoned flickered dangerously. In the distance, I caught sight of a door swinging open, a radiant light beckoning from beyond. It felt like a faint heartbeat, enticing yet ominous, casting both hope and trepidation into this unfolding chaos. Run, the man urged as he grasped my hand, and together, we raced toward the beckoning possibility, leaving behind swirling shadows of uncertainty. The woman's laughter followed us, echoing darkly as we sprinted toward the light, and I knew with chilling clarity that this was only the beginning. Jasper's fate hung precariously in the balance, tethered to our resolve. As we reached the threshold, breathless and shaken, shadows lashed out at us one last time, clawing at my heart. I looked back, my soul resonating with a sense of urgency, and proclaimed, I will find him. But the moment I crossed into the light, a piercing scream echoed through the corridor, a harrowing sound that shattered everything I had ever known. A scream that sent waves of dread crashing over me, as I turned to witness the shadows consuming the last remnants of who I had been. And in that beating heart of chaos and clarity, an agonizing truth dawned. The battle was only beginning, and darkness always exacts its price. The world beyond the threshold felt surreal, bathing me in an overwhelming glow. Light shattered the remnants of shadows clinging to my essence, leaving a distinct dichotomy between hope and chaos. But as the screech reverberated through the air, it was a chilling reminder that the shadows were relentless, even beyond this radiant veil. The man's grip tightened around my hand as he pulled me forward, urging me to leave the horrors behind, but I hesitated. What was that? I gasped, panic rising within me. His eyes met mine, a reflection of resolve and concern. I don't know, he replied, pausing to scan the horizon of this new realm. But we have to keep moving. I opened my mouth to protest, feeling an innate need to return, to confront the abyss behind us. Jasper was not just a figment of my past. He was entangled with my present reality. But as the echoes of his name lingered in the air like a haunting melody, I felt an insurmountable void. Inspiration churned within me, propelling me to surge forward as I ventured deeper into the light. The surroundings morphed gradually, a sun-soaked garden filled with vibrancy and life, juxtaposed against the darkness that I had escaped. Colorful flowers danced in the breeze while birds flitted above, singing songs of freedom. Yet each note was an ironic reminder of the chaos I had left behind, of the screams still echoing in my bones. Where are we? I asked, my voice a whisper cradled within the delicate hum of life surrounding us. It's a sanctuary, the man replied, his gaze softening. A place where the light can momentarily shield us from the shadows. But be wary, the darkness seeks you even here. As he spoke, I felt drawn to a willow tree nestled at the far corner of the garden, its branches flowing like gentle waterfalls. The allure was magnetic, and somehow familiar, as if a lost part of myself called out to me from its embrace. Stay close, he urged, but excitement pushed me forward. I needed to know more, not just about this place, but also about Jasper and the unforeseen ties that bound us together. I wrapped my small fist around the tree's trunk and pressed my forehead against the sturdy bark. In that moment, clarity washed over me, images flickering behind my closed eyes, a kaleidoscope of memories shared with Jasper. I could almost hear his laughter cascading through my memories, wrapping around my heart like a soothing balm. But just as quickly, fragments of his history surged forth, shrouded in smoke and shadows. His pain, his secrets came rushing back, crashing into me like waves against jagged cliffs. I yanked away from the tree, gasping. He's out there, I muttered, my heart racing. I can feel him. He needs me. The man stepped closer, concern etched across his face. We can't save him without confronting our own darkness first. You understand that, right? I don't have time for this, I snapped, frustration boiling over. Every moment we spend here is a moment lost. I can't abandon him again. Then let's face it together, he replied softly. I promise you, I won't let you face this alone. The sincerity in his voice pierced through my tempest of fear. It was a promise, a lifeline thrown into the abyss of uncertainty. Trusting him, I nodded, feeling the heaviness in my soul ease just a fraction. Together, we could attempt to unravel the chaos that bound Jasper and me in depression. As I turned from the willow, a flickering shadow caught my eye, darkness coiling around the edges of the sanctuary. My heart raced, recognizing the malignant presence that left me unsettled. What is that? I whispered, taking a step back. That, he replied, terror imbuing his voice, is the darkness that followed you. It's hungry and relentless, and it now knows where you are. The shadow contorted, a swirling mass of forgotten fears and insecurities. A familiar face emerged from it, twisted and grotesque, a reflection of my own insecurities, doubts, and lost moments in time. Did you really think you could escape? It hissed, its voice a collage of taunting laughter. You cannot hide from me. I have always been a part of you. Shut up! Screamed, planting my feet firmly in defiance. Tell me, do you think your love will save him? The shadow continued, undeterred. Will your blinding hope lead you to cherish his darkness? Or will it shatter beneath the weight of your own? I will not let you define me, I shouted. I know now that embracing vulnerability is my strength, and I refuse to succumb to your lies. In response, the darkness erupted, laughs morphing into a roar as the shadows lunged toward me. I felt sheer terror grip my heart as I was enveloped in a familiar embrace of cold. Memories of Jasper's pain, of my fears, all clawed at my thoughts. But then, I sensed the man beside me, his unwavering presence infusing me with a surge of courage. Believe in what you know, he shouted into the tempest. You can fight this. I inhaled deeply, summoning every ounce of courage I could muster. You do not own me, I declared, feeling the light inside me flicker back to life. Jasper is worth fighting for. The love we share is stronger than your grip. The shadow writhed violently, a cacophony of shrieks echoing through the garden as my declaration pushed against its darkness. Each word forced the shadows back, fracturing their hold. Yet I knew we were merely at the beginning of this confrontation. The sanctuary trembled around us, glimmers of shadows challenging the light. I took a step further, my heart merging strength and vulnerability, a beacon shining bright against the dark. Together, Jasper and I will fight back. We will unravel this. But as I let the words soar, a new voice emerged from the shadows, sharp and insidious. Then perhaps you should learn the truth about Jasper. My heart sank at those words, dread coiling tightly around me as a familiar silhouette emerged from the darkness. The figure loomed, waiting to reveal secrets buried beneath layers of shadow. I felt a chill ripple through me, for that meant the battle had only just begun, and the truth I was so desperately seeking might force me to confront a dimension of Jasper's past I was not ready to face. With renewed determination mingling with uncertainty, I steeled myself. The looming confrontation promised more than just darkness. It whispered hints of revelations long overdue. Stepping forward, I prepared to dive into the unknown, unaware of how a single truth could both fracture our world and potentially set us free. The garden was no longer a whimsical paradise. It had transformed into a battleground. It felt as if it sought to swallow me whole, dragging me deeper into shadows that threatened to eclipse everything I cared for. But I refused to give in. Not now. I thought of the words the man had shared, and despite the turmoil raging around us, I felt a flicker of courage igniting within my chest as the glimmer of familiarity grew brighter. The shadow twisted and revealed its truth from all those doubts, insecurities, and unacknowledged fears I had tried to bury, recoiling beneath its weight, morphing into memories I still clung to. Each flickering image brought to life the aching scars of my heart, reminding me of everything I had worried about with Jasper. With us, they echoed together, filling the air with lingering uncertainty. And yet, beneath that weight, a greater understanding blossomed in the depths of my soul. "I will not run from you," I declared, as the memories collectively whirled around me. "You will not define me or my love for him." Each word became a shield, a declaration of my resolve, resonating in the fabric of the garden's twisted essence. The shadow screeched in defiance, its form contorting as it lashed out. Yet, in that pivotal moment, I felt warmth spill into my heart, a connection reaching out to me through the storm, reminding me of the reality I so fiercely believed in. The truth of who I was surged forward to reclaim my spirit, blending with the flicker of hope that Jasper represented. With steady resolve, I shifted my focus away from shadows and toward the bright luminescence that pulsed within the heart of the garden. "Jasper, wherever you are, I feel you. Our love is a force neither darkness nor fear can ever extinguish." Just then, the flicker of light morphed, illuminating my surroundings, revealing chaos and beauty entwined, flipping the shadows over. The spectral visage of the woman came into view, tension coiling around us like smoke, tainted by curiosity and patience. "Did you think your declaration would matter? Love only offers the illusion of strength," she asked, a thin, twisted smile dancing across her lips. "Your bond cannot protect you from the truth that lies ahead." Yet, even in the face of her doubts, I could feel Jasper's essence tethering me, a lifeline grounding me in the weight of uncertainty. If the truth lay buried beneath layers of shadows, I needed to navigate through it instead of letting it consume me. Gathering my strength, I stepped forward. What truth? What lies have we been running from? As if summoned by my words, Jasper emerged from the tumult. His eyes, once so vibrant, appeared clouded, flickering with confusion and a deep-rooted fear that sent a chill racing through me. "I'm sorry," he murmured, standing at the edge of that chaotic web, uncertainty swirling around him in frenzied patterns. "I didn't mean for you to get trapped in this mess." "Jasper," my heart thudded painfully against my ribs as I rushed toward him, ignoring the shadows that threatened to crack open beneath my feet, spreading chaos as they reached for us. "Don't you see? We can face this together. I can feel our connection, the power it holds." His gaze hesitated, faltering under the pressure of the moment. "But what if the truth is too much, too heavy?" His voice shook, raw and full of uncertainty. "What if once you learn it, it changes everything between us?" In that moment, where shadows danced between light and darkness, I reached for his hand. "Then we will redefine everything together," I said, squeezing his fingers tightly. "You have to trust me. We have to trust each other. Love is about navigating through the darkness, not being unscathed. But fighting together transforms fear into strength." His face shifted, recognition breaking through the shadows, and something within him seemed to ignite. "Always together," he said, determination rippling in his eyes, and clung to my hand. I felt the warmth of his trust seep through the remnants of doubt, and together we forged a collective force solidifying against the darkness I turned to face. The woman, who watched us with a glint of interest mingling with disdain. "You will come to regret this choice," she said, her voice a chilling whisper echoing around us. "The truth can be unbearable, much like the darkness itself." The weight of her threat hung heavy in the air, but the power surging through me was undeniable. In that moment of synchronizing energies, I knew our fears were only catalysts. They could forge us into something resilient, strength bound in love's embrace. With a deep breath, I faced each shadow that brimmed with uncertainties. "We won't be afraid anymore," I shouted. "Through every doubt, every fear, we will find a way." The garden shuddered, the shadows shrieked in retaliation, struggling to cling to us, but they could not break our unyielding bond. The air around us crackled with energy and more. It pulsed with our unity. The ground quaked, the light surged as if drawing power from our resolve. And then, the darkness around us fractured, unraveling like threads twisted too tightly, spilling out the truth we had buried deeply within the truth woven through our shared histories. It became a radiant tapestry, majestic and vivid, stretching between the darkness and light, leading us back to the essence of who we were. Reality surged around us, the memories resurfacing were vibrant. Each painful moment we had faced crystallized in those snapshots, each a part of us. And as we faced them together, we were not just unearthing memories but reclaiming them, letting them bathe us in light. Every wound breathes life into our connection, and every fear makes our love stronger. I felt my heart swell as I spoke, recalling the laughter, the stolen glances, the moments that had drawn us together. We are made of hope, and we rise from the ashes of our struggles. This garden I gestured to the pulsing beauty surrounding useless hours to shape. As I spoke those words, a gust of wind surged forward, ripping through the chaos, until the shadows recoiled. They shattered against the light, and in their place emerged a steady calm, a celestial space where love reigned. The woman screamed, but her voice was left behind, overshadowed by the brilliance now enveloping us. And in that kaleidoscope of colors and emotion, I felt the weight lift, the burdens dissipate, leaving nothing but clarity in their wake. Jasper squeezed my hand tighter. "What does this mean for us?" he asked, voice steady as the light embraced us wholeheartedly. But there were no words necessary. In his eyes, I could see the acceptance of whatever lay ahead, the willingness to forge something new together. Then, with each heartbeat echoing the promise I had made, I answered, "It means we are ready to face the truth together and nothing can tear us apart." And just like that, the garden erupted into metamorphosis, each petal brightening, each leaf blooming, inciting hope that enveloped all that was once shadowed. A new beginning unfurled within this beautifully chaotic existence, an embrace of vulnerability that transcended everything we had faced before. As the last shards of darkness faded, I couldn't help but feel a connection to the warmth growing in my chest, a reminder that while the past may have shaped us, it would never define us. The journey of love, raw and tumultuous, would always lead us home. But in that final moment, as the garden blossomed with life once more, I clasped Jasper's hand, and together, we took a step forward into a future not just reclaimed but rebuilt, layered with every truth we were ready to embrace, bound in the promise of what love could truly become. And at the heart of it all, I whispered the words that would solidify our bond. "We will always find our way back to each other." This was not just the conclusion of a journey fraught with darkness, but the birth of a new beginning, one woven from understanding, resilience, and an unwavering belief that our love could illuminate even the darkest paths.